All right, first off, why don't we start off with this Alphabet, Apple news? Does it change your thoughts when it comes to mega cap tech and the Mag 7 in any way?
Not really. I mean, this is a relief. Obviously, we get some certainty, an outcome that is much better than feared for Google and for Apple. Google we've owned on and off on the value side. It is in many ways a value stock. But it's basically a market multiple. Obviously, one of the overhangs has been AI. This doesn't really address that so much, but it does perhaps get the government out of their hair.
All right. As we're looking at the markets right now, we saw a bit of a stumble going into the start of September yesterday. We also saw a bit of a spike in bond yields. Does that change your view of the equity market, the idea that we're seeing the long end in particular move up with the 30-year very close to 5%?
Well, obviously, we're dealing with the potential for a return of inflation, debt long term, and let's call it some attack on political norms, all contributing to that rise in the long bond. That obviously has an impact on equity markets. But for the most part, we're seeing a pretty decent earnings backdrop, and the potential for rate cut keeps us fairly bullish.
All right. Your word of the day today is deals. Now, what deals are you talking about in particular?
Well, when I sat here just after the election, we were talking about the return of animal spirits, a more favorable regulatory backdrop, and moderating borrowing costs. That thesis took a little bit of a hit with some of the trade noise and some mixed signals from the administration, but it's game on. And I say that not just because the deals are up, but because of the kind of deals that are getting announced. 3 deals in particular that we're following: Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern, the combination of Nexstar and Tegna, and then third last week, AT&T buying a significant chunk of spectrum, potentially from EchoStar, were unfathomable 6 months ago. We'll see if they get approved. But the fact that they're announced means that investment bankers are dreaming big.
All right. So your pick for us today, though, is MSGS, Madison Square Garden. No deals there.
Well, there are lots of deals in the sports area, actually, including, and most notably, a sale of the Los Angeles Lakers for a notional $10 billion. Today, there are very few ways to participate in sports assets. MSGS is one of them. They own the Knicks and the Rangers. It's 24 million shares. The stock is just under 200, a couple $100 million of debt. So for less than $5 billion, you get the Knicks and the Rangers. The stock's worth at least double that. I think one of the issues is, listen, the donors are not going to sell the company, but they could sell a stake in one or both of the teams. And if they sold, say, 10% of the Knicks at $10 billion, that's $1 billion they could return a quarter of the float. In
all fairness, though, but isn't it kind of an odd time to go into sports franchises, at least in the public markets, where a lot of the owners are trying to get out of the sports franchises?
Well, it's an interesting point. I mean, obviously, this is an exclusive club. Yeah. Look at what's happened to gold and Bitcoin. They're stores of value. Sports teams, there's 30 NBA teams, 32 NHL teams that are limited supply. They've been great stores of value over time. And that's why wealthy individuals are buying into the market and why public market investors have limited opportunities, but probably should.
All right, one thing I want to talk to you about is the oil market. We just read a news alert just a short time ago. OPEC's considering increasing output at their meeting coming up, possibly also in October. How does that shape your view of the energy market in particular? Energy has been actually one of the leading sectors over the last week.
Yeah, we haven't historically been that involved in energy. Obviously, it's good for the consumer, and we like that because we are involved in a lot of consumer stocks.
All right, right now we're looking at WTI and Brent crude pullback. WTI actually pulling back deeper, about 1.75% on that report. Brent crude down about 1.5%. You mentioned gold very quickly, obviously a safe haven. We've seen that move higher. But your pick, MSGS, Madison Square Gardens, invested in sports.
There's crispness in the air. We're a month and a half from the NBA starting, a month from the NHL starting. It's time to play.